Story: Whispers in St. Mary's Hospital. E. The night sky hung heavy over the outskirts of Toronto, where the abandoned St. Mary's Hospital loomed like a broken monument to forgotten suffering. Once a place of healing, it now stood as a hollow shell of despair. Its windows were shattered, its doors rusted and crooked, and when the wind swept through, the old metal frames screeched like voices trying to escape. From the outside, it looked like nothing more than a neglected ruin. But those who had dared to step inside swore they never left the same. That night, Daniel, a young journalist eager to prove himself, arrived with nothing but a flashlight and his camera. For years, he had heard the rumors about St. Mary's. Patients disappearing, strange whispers at night, shadowy figures moving through the corridors long after the last doctor had left. He didn't believe in ghost stories. To him, this was just another assignment, the perfect chance to write a thrilling feature and finally make a name for himself. But the moment he crossed the threshold, his fate was sealed. The arrival it was just past midnight when Daniel parked his car a block away. He wanted the full effect, no headlights, no distractions. Only him and the hospital. The air was damp and unnervingly still. He clicked on his flashlight, gripped his camera tightly, and pushed open the main doors. The first thing that hit him was the smell. Stale air mixed with mold, rust, and something faintly metallic, like dried blood. Droplets of water dripped steadily from the ceiling into small puddles on the cracked floor, creating an echo that seemed to multiply down the empty hallways. As he stepped inside, the old wooden floor groaned beneath his weight. He lifted the camera, speaking into the microphone to record his entry. Tonight, I'm at St. Mary's Hospital, closed 25 years ago under mysterious circumstances. Locals still whisper about the things that happened here. My goal is simple: document the truth behind the stories. But the sound of his own voice came back distorted. The echo didn't match. It was slower, drawn out, as if something inside was repeating his words. Daniel froze. His flashlight trembled in his grip as he turned, scanning the hallway behind him. Nothing, just dust and silence. The first signs in the main reception area, Daniel spotted a patient registry lying on the desk, half buried under layers of dust. Curious, he brushed it off and began flipping through the yellowed pages. At first, the writing was normal: names, dates, procedures. But after a few entries, the handwriting grew frantic. Whole pages filled with the same sentence over and over in jagged ink. They never leave. Daniel's throat went dry. His heart pounded in his chest as his flashlight flickered violently. For the briefest moment, in the broken glass of the reception window, he saw a shadow, a figure standing behind him. When he spun around, the corridor was empty. He swallowed hard and whispered to himself, "Just tricks of the light, just nerves." But deep down, he wasn't convinced. Footsteps in the corridor. Daniel climbed the stairs to the second floor. The air grew colder with each step. Here, the patient rooms stretched in a long, endless corridor. Most doors hung open, revealing skeletal beds and decayed mattresses covered in mold. Then came the sound. Heavy footsteps, slow and deliberate, echoing from the far end of the hall. Daniel aimed his flashlight, but the beam illuminated nothing but peeling paint and darkness. The footsteps grew louder, closer. He pressed his back to the wall, gripping his camera like a shield. Suddenly, one of the doors slammed shut with a deafening crash. Daniel's pulse spiked as he caught his breath. His camera was still running, and in the audio, faint whispers began to bleed through. Words layered on top of each other, distorted yet unmistakable. "Don't leave. Stay." Daniel staggered backward, his flashlight beam shaking wildly. He could feel the hospital pressing in on him, suffocating him with invisible eyes. The empty rooms driven by equal parts fear and curiosity. Daniel began to check the rooms. In one, a bed looked freshly used, the pillow indented as though someone had just lain there. Yet the room was empty. In another, the walls were smeared with dark stains. At first, he thought it was rust, but the shapes were too deliberate. Handprints clawed into the plaster, fingernail scratches trailing downward as if someone had been dragged away. When Daniel's flashlight swept across the wall again, the stains were gone. Just clean, faded paint. His hands trembled as he raised his camera. Through the lens, the room wasn't empty at all. He saw nurses in white uniforms, patients lying in bed, their hollow eyes staring directly at him. The scene was silent, frozen in time. But when he lowered the camera, the room was vacant once more. The operating theater. By 2 a.m., Daniel reached the heart of the hospital, the operating theater. The stories always led here. Locals said the final tragedy had unfolded in this very room. The heavy steel doors resisted, but with one last push, he forced them open. A wave of cold air rushed out, chilling him to the bone. Inside, rusted surgical instruments lay scattered across the tables. The overhead surgical lamp drooped low, its glass cracked but intact. With shaking hands, Daniel flipped the switch. Against all odds, the lamp flickered to life, flooding the room with harsh white light. And in that moment, he wished it hadn't. The beds were full. Patients lay there, pale as wax, their eyes wide open, staring blankly at the ceiling. The stench of rot hit him as he realized they weren't alive. Yet, as the light spread across the room, every single one of them turned their heads toward him. In perfect unison, Daniel stumbled backward, his flashlight slipping from his hand. His camera clattered to the floor, but continued recording, capturing the impossible, the patients slowly rising, their limbs creaking like dry wood. The chase. Daniel bolted for the door, but it slammed shut before he reached it. He hurled himself at it, pounding with all his strength, but the metal refused to budge. Behind him, the sound of dragging footsteps grew louder. The whispers returned, swelling into a chorus that filled the room. "Don't leave us. Stay with us. Forever." The figures drew closer, their faces expressionless, their eyes burning with something that was neither life nor death. Daniel screamed, slamming his fists against the door until his knuckles bled. The last thing the camera recorded was his face, pale with terror, eyes wide as the shadows closed in around him. Then the footage cut to black. Aftermath. At dawn, emergency crews entered the hospital after receiving reports of loud noises during the night. They found Daniel's flashlight and camera lying on the floor of the operating theater. But there was no sign of Daniel himself. When they played back the footage, the images defied explanation. Distorted faces appearing in mirrors, shadows moving without source, and voices whispering words no living throat could have formed. Since that night, the legend of St. Mary's has only grown darker. Locals warn each other to stay away, to never cross its threshold after sunset. Because once the hospital takes notice of you, it never lets you go.